I turned a certain age and I just really liked the Civil War out of nowhere. I woke up one day and I was like, I need to know everything there is to know about the Battle of Shiloh. And I'm not alone. A lot of my friends my age are the same way. They all want to know about the Civil War. And I think there's a few reasons why, and I'm going to get into it in this video. First reason is you lose your imagination at a certain age. Like when I was younger, I bought into the world of Star Wars. I bought into the world of Lord of the Rings. I was really into the world of fantasy, of fiction. And now I can't buy into it anymore. I mean, I could still like get into the old movies I grew up out of nostalgia and out of like a carryover from my imagination period. But now I can't start a new fictional series. I'm 40 years old. Bills, I got responsibilities. I have rent. I have people who rely on me. I can't read about dwarves, like what? So the cool thing about Civil War, it's all real. You can open it up and it's real people who fought real battles and you can see the time and day that they fought them. No imagination required. It's all right there. There's paintings. There's even pictures of soldiers in the Civil War. So you don't need to think and buy into a world. The world happened. You're living in that world. The second reason is the Civil War especially has a great story. Everyone loves a great story with a clear protagonist and a clear antagonist. Like Lord of the Rings. There was good and there was evil. But what's great about the Civil War is it's not just that simple. There are gray areas. There are three-dimensional characters in the Civil War. And I'm talking about the North and the South. The South, on the outside, on paper, yes, they're the bad guy. If the South won, slavery would still be in effect. I mean, I doubt it would still be in effect today, but you know what I mean. It would be in effect in periods beyond the Civil War. But that's not the reason, or entirely the reason they were fighting. The reason they were fighting, a lot of them, and you can read it in the diaries and read it in their speeches and memoirs, it's because when the Fort Sumter fell, the North had to march an army through the southern states to get to South Carolina. And Virginia, North Carolina did not like the idea of a large federal army marching through their lands. And it's not like it is today. You can't just hop in a truck and get to a place. You have to march. You have to eat. You have to defecate. You have to sleep somewhere. They're going to do all of that on other people's property. So a lot of people felt violated by that. Maybe they felt that Fort Sumter could have been negotiated in a better way without a huge federal army marching through their backyards. That's one reason to fight. A lot of people did not own people or own plantations. They were just living off the economy of that system. So to them, they weren't fighting to keep a certain way in place. They in their heads, they were fighting for their way of life, So they're not entirely evil. I would argue not a lot were evil. They were just regular Americans who felt violated. And that's my third point, is it applies to the issues today. That's what's so great about the Civil War. All of our political lines are drawn basically through the Confederate states and the northern states. All of the border states are still swing states. It's very fascinating how the way people lived in the Civil War is totally applicable to today. And even the reasons they fought, the Confederacy fought, are still happening in the news. If you look at the news in Chicago, in Los Angeles, there are regular citizens very upset that ICE federal officers are in their city doing things that they don't agree with. You wouldn't believe it, but those same people have the same mentality as the Confederate States of America. The Confederate States of America were very angry at the point of federal overreach and federal presence in their cities and states, so they took up arms on top of the deep political divide that had been growing in ever since the Revolution, really. Two different ways of life, two different economies, two different ways of looking at the country, either as a republic or a strong kind of federal presence. All that kind of boiled over in the Civil War. But that also happens today. A lot of people, for example, the COVID restrictions, the people who were really mad about that kind of followed along the Confederate lines. Florida, Alabama, they did not enjoy being told to shut down their government. They did not enjoy being told to take certain medications to stop the spread. They thought that was a violation and overreach of federal laws and guidelines. And the North, we're okay with that. I lived in New York City during the pandemic. Nothing was open for a very long time. So it's just very interesting. And I think that's why a lot of people connect to the story of the Civil War and the reasons of the Civil War. It's in the news today. You open a newspaper and you can draw a line from the recent headline all the way back to, I don't know, Gettysburg. Another reason is there is a very complex protagonist as well. The North, at the outset, wasn't fighting to end slavery. I mean, there were some volunteers who did that. There were radical abolitionists. Even Lincoln himself didn't want slavery to exist, but he did not publicly state that. His goals were to keep the Union together. So they're not just a clear good guy. A lot of the soldiers, and you can read about it in their diaries, their photos, and even the way they styled themselves, even the way they dressed, they were fighting because they read about the excitement of the Crimean War. Like the New York Zouaves troops were modeling their uniform on the photos that they got from the Crimean battle. So it's not like they were fighting a just crusade in their heads. They just wanted to do something cool. There wasn't a lot of Netflix. There wasn't even a lot of entertainment. There was no movies. People just looked at photos for fun. And the photos they looked at were at the Crimean War. It was the most interesting thing happening in the time period right before the Civil War. So, I mean, of course, a lot of that changed after the Emancipation Proclamation. The North kind of made it clear that their goal was to end slavery and keep the Union together. But at the beginning, they weren't exactly the angels of America. You know what I mean? Also, the North has a great character arc from that too, which is an interesting story. At the outset, like I said, they just wanted to fight. They wanted to do things. They wanted to get out of their homes. They wanted to, see the country. They wanted to be in newspapers themselves. And then through the course of the Civil War, the entire Union Army, for the most part, kind of solidified against the idea of freeing enslaved people. And they matured as an army, as a people. And, that's an interesting arc as well. It also has a great kind of cliffhanger ending. We don't have to get into that, but it made it seem like there would be a second Civil War, and there almost was. Okay, the final reason I could think of for why people in America my age really enjoy the Civil War is it's the only battle in American history that you can actually visit, see, touch, smell. I went to Gettysburg 2 years ago. The battlefield is exactly the same. The fences are still there. The houses are still there. I walked the entirety of Pickett's charge. That is pretty awesome. In the Revolutionary War, the big ending battle, the Battle of Yorktown, was mostly fought by the Navy. And it wasn't even the American Navy. It's not like you can swim out and see where that big decisive event happened. The Battle of Bunker Hill, I don't even know where that is. But I can tell you one thing. I know exactly where the Battle of Fredericksburg is. It's in the city of Fredericksburg, Virginia. You can just go down there and look at it, and I've done that too. It's really cool. I've also used a metal detector. I found belt buckles. I found bullets. I found a lot of equipment. So you have a deep connection to history, especially in the Civil War in America, that you have with no other conflict. Most of the conflicts, aside from the Civil War and the Revolutionary War and the War of 1812, happened overseas, far away from here. It's not easy just to go to Russia and metal detect for World War II artifacts. I think you need a visa to do that. But you can just get in your car, drive up or down Interstate 95 and find a lot of interesting things that are pretty cool. So those are the thoughts I have about why people my age really connect to the Civil War and why I think it's the most interesting conflict in American history as an American. I know Europeans don't really care about it. I know you guys view it like some kind of sideshow. You guys were ready, still reeling from the Napoleonic conflict, which I think is a great conflict too. But if you have other reasons why you think people enjoy the Civil War when they get older, please comment below. If you have other conflicts you want me to kind of deep dive into, let me know as well. And have a great rest of the day, everybody.